Good morning, TK, and happy Wednesday. We're gonna go ahead and get started with some reading today. So let's talk about our objective. Today, we're gonna be working on pages 5 and 6 of our activity pages, and we're gonna be doing 3 different objectives today, all right? So there are 3 things that we're hoping to work on. Our first one is I can identify short and long. Now, when we're talking about identifying, we're going to need to use our eyes. And can you believe it? I found out that this is magnetic, so I'm going to be putting my magnets right up here. I didn't know that. Okay, so we're going to be using our eyes to identify short and long. Our second objective is I can use position words. So when we're talking about our position words, we're thinking about words like on top or under or in front of or behind or next to or in between. Can you think of any more? Maybe like over or in the middle. So we're going to be using words like that. So when we're talking about our position words, we're going to need to use our mouth. Because when we're saying them, we're going to use our mouth. Oh, upside down. Position words. What about our third one here? I can recall character details. So when we're saying recall, we're pointing to our brain here, because if you remember, recall means to remember. So we're going to be remembering things about our characters. And details means like different things about them. So we're going to think about, what do they like? Where do they live? What kinds of things do they enjoy? Because Country Mouse and City Mouse are 2 characters. They're pretty different, right? So we're going to be remembering things about them. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'll meet you over at the screen. All right, guys, here we are over at the screen, and we are working on activity page number 5. So make sure you have activity page 5 out. Go ahead and write your name. Ooh, where are we? Boop, boop. At the top. There we go. Doing it backwards. Make sure you write your name up at the top here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So for this page, we're going to be using 1 brown crayon and 1 green crayon. So go ahead and get out a brown crayon and a green crayon. And let's remember that our objective for this page is to talk about short and long and to use our position words. So remember, it was I can identify short and long, and I can use my position words. Okay, so we're going to get started by finding our short and our long lines. So if you notice here, in the box that they have, they traced their short line, what color? Green, right. And they traced their long line, which color? Brown. So your job now is to actually go in and trace all of the short lines with green and the long lines with brown. So what I want you to do now is go ahead and pause the video and do that. All right, TK, so now your page should look something like this. Hopefully you found all of your long lines and traced them with brown, and all of your short lines and traced them with green. Now our next step, remember our next part of our objective was to use our position words. So I'm going to be asking you to find certain boxes and point to them, okay? So you're going to need to listen and hear the position words and then be able to find these boxes. So here we go. So let's look at the box at the top left corner of the page. Which box is in the top left corner of the page? Point to that box. You should be pointing to this box up here. This box is in the top left corner of the page. Now, which line is on top in that box? Which line is on top? The long line or the short line? The long line. The long line is on top of that box. Now let's think about which box is at the bottom left corner of the page. The bottom left corner of the page. Point to the box in the bottom left corner of the page. We should be pointing to this box here. This box is at the bottom left corner of the page. Let's look at the box next to it. So if we're looking at this box, which box is next to it? Point to the box next to the one in the bottom left corner. This box is next to it. In this box, which line is on the bottom? The longer line or the shorter line? The shorter line. The shorter line is on the bottom. Okay, we're going to do one more. Let's look at the box in the top right corner of the page. The top right corner of the page. Point to the box in the top right corner of the page. We should be pointing to this box, the top right corner. In that box, which line is on top? The long line or the short line? The longer line. The longer line is on top in that box. Nice work, you guys. Remember, you can always practice using your position words, talking about where things are in your house. Maybe you can put your toys in line and talk about who's first, who's last, who's in the middle, who's next to who. It's a great way to practice your position words. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to activity page number 6. So get that one out now. All right, TK, now we're going to work on activity page number 6. Now, our job for this page, remember our objective was to recall character details. So we're going to be remembering some things about our characters. Now, if you notice, we have 2 characters on this page. Who are our 2 characters on this page? Right, we have the city mouse and the country mouse. Now, if you notice, they have some things here on the other sides of their page. Now, our job is to help us remember what those things are and lead them to it, just like we did back in lesson 2 when we were looking at our big concept board. So let's think about the city mouse. What kinds of things here do you see on the city mouse's page that she likes? What are some things that we remember that she likes? Well, if we recall some details about the city mouse, we remember that she's kind of fancy. She's a little bit fancy. So she really likes her fancy cheese plate. She really likes her fancy hat. And she has a very fancy chair. Now we're going to take our brown crayon and we need to help City Mouse get to those things. So we're going to follow the arrow going in a straight line across to her things. So let's go ahead and get out our brown crayons and we will help our City Mouse get to her things. So I'm going to start where the arrow is and trace in a straight line across. And I just helped her get to her fancy cheese plate. Now I'm going to do the same thing for her fancy hat and for her fancy chair. Now, the country mouse also likes those things. She also likes food and some of her belongings and her chairs, but they're different than the way that the city mouse has them, aren't they? The country mouse's food is not like a fancy cheese plate. What does the country mouse like to eat? Let's think back to our story. The country mouse really likes nuts and fruits. She has a nice little nuts and fruits bowl. So we're going to help her get to her nuts and fruits bowl. So I'm going to take my brown crayon again and draw a straight line across. Now, the country mouse also had some things in her house that she really liked, but they weren't like fancy hat or clothes. She really liked to keep her nice little cozy house nice and clean and neat. So she has a nice little broom. So we're going to help her get to her broom. Oh, zoomed in. We are going to do a straight line across our brown crayon. There we go. And last, the country mouse also had a nice little chair in her house, but it wasn't a fancy chair like the city mouse. She had a nice cozy stool. So we're gonna help her get to her cozy stool. We're gonna draw a straight line across. And there we go. We help them get to their belongings. Good job, you guys. All right, tomorrow we'll be working back here again on our next activity pages, and I will see you in a little bit for handwriting and phonics.